Greetings. This is Boston G.B.R. from YouTube. I'm in the city of Valdosta, Georgia. Last week, I witnessed a city council meeting what I believe to be a continuation of the old Valdosta 1860 Charter Mentality. That charter read, paragraph 100, section 11, I believe it was, that the mayor and council shall pass all proper and necessary laws and ordinances for the control of slaves and free persons of color, and to suppress and abate all nuisances arising from hogs, dogs, horses, and other animals straying in Valdosta. I watched Councilman James Wright speak out before the council concerning the impediment study, the AI analysis. All Councilman Wright asks is that they wait, delay the voting on a document that they received on Wednesday. And of course, council meeting was Thursday. So if James Wright, Councilman Yokes, Councilman White, Councilman Payton, Councilman Norton, Councilman Carroll, or Councilman Sonny Vickers, or the mayor, or Mr. Larry Hanson, the city manager. If any of these people wanted to share that information with local voters and citizens here in Valdosta, they would not have had time to do it. So it seems to me, just on general principles, that the people in these various districts just should have been considered. And the request for Councilman Wright to ask for a delay because he had not read this 165-page analysis concerning a federal program that deals with dollars and the low income and economically oppressed people here in Valdosta. It only seems right to me, out of great concern for the very people that voted, Councilman Wright, Councilman Yokes, Councilman White, Councilman Payton, Councilman Norton, Councilman Carroll, and Councilman Vickers, and the mayor into elected office. It seems to me that as a minimum of getting away from the appearance that our elected officials do not want to hear from us. That 1860 charter that was removed from these walls in 2004 used the word control, suppress, and abate. I retired here in '91, and I have proven and willing to stand before any human being of average intelligence to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that too much news is being ignored, especially when it comes to Black African Americans and poor whites and the economically oppressed contractors and other people in this community. We just don't have the news media outlet. We just don't have it. For example, I stood before City Council and I talked about Clay Road, just a few miles from here, and it only makes sense to me, and I believe of any person of average intelligence, on a 1.9 stretch of roadway on Clay Road. The bridge on Clay Road, on this side of the bridge, back to 84, the speed limit is 35 miles per hour. Kevin and others tell me that reason that 30 miles an hour is set up to protect the truckers as they come off the north end of that bridge to enter Clay Road. It's for their safety and for their protection, I'm told. And that's good, there's no problem with that. But the police sits right next to the bridge to catch people coming north over that bridge. Now, on the south end of the bridge on Clay Road, right next to the bridge is a 35 miles an hour speed limit. Now, many people contend that that is indeed a speed trap. Now, on the other side, way back, is 45 miles an hour. Any person of average intelligence would know that if they are concerned about the traffic and the truckers on the north side of that bridge, they should be equally concerned about the truckers that are coming out of Valdosta Industries on the south side of that bridge. That only makes good sense. So, in anybody's eyes of average intelligence, in my most humble opinion, the 35 miles an hour that's next to the bridge should be pushed back to pass Buster's Industries. That would also protect those truckers coming out of industrial industries as well as the other business area to the left of Buster's as they enter Clay Road. Now, how can you have it both ways? You want the trucks on this end to be protected, but not the trucks on the other end, nor the motorists coming up through the building where Shumpert building is on the corner there. Now that just makes common sense to me. Now, as it is, they got a 45 miles an hour speed limit to make it short in front of Industrial Park up near the bridge. All they have to do is push the 35 miles an hour sign back. Then if people are caught speeding, they wouldn't feel bad. They wouldn't mind taking their hard-earned money during the economic time, they shouldn't anyway, to pay a fine. But when they pay a fine, when the 35 miles an hour starts at the foot of the bridge, which means you going 45 miles an hour until you get right up to the bridge, and then you got to reduce your speed. And if the city is correct that they are concerned about trucks coming out of that industry on the north side of the bridge, why aren't they equally concerned about the motorists that come up through the Shumpert Street there, as well as down further where Valdosta Industries are? Now, this is why I say, this city, all of my 20 plus years in the armed forces, I've gone to city council meetings. I have never in my life seen a system that is so entrenched and against the voters and against the citizens as Valdosta. On the Valdosta agenda, and in both governmental bodies here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, citizens or voters, listen, citizens or voters are just pushed back to the end of the agenda, pushed way back in the background. Now, when people come before our governmental bodies, they are at the end of the agenda, which means the elected officials are not going to respond to them because they give their spiel before citizens to be heard. So why is that? And why are the people in my community so ignorant and so disrespectful of themselves and their neighbors that they would allow the people that they vote into office to treat them in that manner? It just don't make sense to me. Moreover, Valdosta is the home of Valdosta State University, Wiregrass Technical College, Wild Adventures Theme Park, Georgia Military College, South Georgia Medical Center, and many other noteworthy buildings, facilities, and high levels of learning. But we here in Valdosta and Lowndes County are leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths. We have had 30 jail deaths since 1994 to 2009, and yet no elected official, no citizen care enough about the laws of human life enough to say enough is enough. And so we have a cloud over this city. already without ignoring the voters and the citizens. We have a cloud about the conditions in the jail. Many people thought that if we got another sheriff, things would be better. I have been told by reliable sources, I have it recorded on video, that on May the 8th, 2010, an individual was tased in the jail, in medical, and that an elected official who served in this building know about it, but absolutely nothing has been said about it in the Valdosta Daily Times, nor in any news media outlet. Gonna get better in a minute. I got a call from an insider at the jail that an individual with the last name Henry was taken from his cell because of an alleged razor blade that was found in his cell, and taken away from the cameras and roughed up pretty badly. They told me to try to get in touch with the mother or the parents or relatives of this young individual to check on their loved one. This is not the first time. Why is it that here in South Georgia, there used to be a time wherein people, when we had the Lake Park Post, you could call in to the editor and the editor would publish it and everybody would know what was going on. But there's a new pattern and practice that seems to have lined itself with the 1860 Valdosta City Charter, which is to suppress and abate not just black folk, but everybody. And so now we are all in the same bucket today. Yeah, oh yeah, that's the system. And I know they've always said it's hard to fight City Hall. But there is a force in the universe called the goddess of nemesis. And I am 100% sure that sooner or later, regardless of how our news media, regardless of how our preachers, regardless of how our bishops, priests, imams, and rabbis sit on the sideline and walk and act contrary to what Moses, Jeremiah, Abraham, Jesus, Mohammed, Buddha, or anyone else did or performed during their life, they are doing in reverse. But I still remain 100% sure that in the end, truth, right, and justice will win eventually. Moreover, I am also sure that these videos that I'm sending to Atlanta and other places to be archived, so when the history books of Valdosta, Lowndes County, and South Georgia and Southeast Georgia is written, they will know that there was another history that were ignored by our so-called freedom of the press and freedom of speech. We are going to do that. Just 2 weeks ago, we had the Honorable Tyrone Brooks to meet with 70 people over in Quitman at Bethel Church. Of course, you don't know nothing about that, but I recorded the historical archival record, and I'm maintaining that. I want you to know that they gave testimonies concerning the alleged intimidation of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation during the arrest and indictment of the Quitman 10. They also commented about Governor Nathan Deal, how he removed 3 black councilmen, Board of Education members from the Brooks County Board of Education. However, it seems as if, though, once again, the citizens and the voters in Quitman and Brooks County have been disenfranchised, once again, even by the governor of the state of Georgia. And I believe that the Justice Department must take a look into the President Brad Shealy, District Attorney David Miller, and their actions in requesting an investigation in the first place, based upon what we read in the newspapers, that there was a spike in absentee ballot submissions by the black board members. But on the back of that form for the application for an absentee ballot, it says that anybody, but anybody, can file and request for an absentee ballot. I did it last time because I wanted to follow the process through. And I'm here to say to you that if that was the base for the investigation, and it's legal on the back of the form for anybody to submit or request for absentee ballot, then why was that the base for the investigation? If everybody in the state of Georgia decide to vote by absentee ballot, I contend that there will definitely be a spike in the state of Georgia about absentee ballot submissions. And so somebody need to call an investigation, or somebody need to call in the FBI to investigate. It may be. But I'm here to say to you, why weren't the other side also equally investigated? Because when the runoff came about, or the new created election that they had already won, they won it again. Yet the other side had a spike in absentee ballot submissions, but there was no investigation. And so I'm here to say to you, my fellow Americans, the state of Georgia, in this particular area of Georgia anyway, is in need of major repair. But I'm glad that Councilman Wright is standing up on behalf of the voters, behalf of the citizens, and your right to know. Why would anybody not want to extend a vote for just 2 weeks until the next meeting, to the next council meeting, so they could at least get with members of in their districts, or maybe discuss it among themselves, or at least as a minimum read the report? James Wright, Councilman Wright, said he hadn't read it. To me, if I was the mayor, and if an individual on my council or on the council said they hadn't read the report, yet asked to make a decision, I would tell them, how can you make a decision when you haven't read the report? Did we not send them to this building to represent us based on facts and their educational level, in order that they have the capacity to process information? And if they cannot process the information 165 pages in one day or overnight, in some cases, some people work job probably didn't even see the report, yet they want to vote on it. It just don't make sense in the modern world. If we were in Russia, or if we were in China, or some other third world communist nation such as Somalia, then we may be able to understand that. But we are in the land of the free, the home of the brave, and not the graves that nobody will look at. If they die in America, we should look at them. And so we should also look at the 30 jail deaths in Valdosta and try to figure out why we are leading the state of Georgia up until they stopped reporting in 2009. So we don't know how many jail deaths is occurring now, and no news media outlet seems to care. I think I agree with Mr. J. Ambrose in the Sunday's paper, in his column, that the news media outlook and reputation is at an all-time low. And so it's at an all-time low because we the people have failed to stand up on what is right on behalf of the American citizen. And just to think that Valdosta give home to Moody Air Force Base, armed forces military veterans that must put their lives on the line in foreign countries for them to get the right that apparently we don't have here in Valdosta and Lowndes County, Georgia. Now, you may not like what I'm saying, but if everybody in Valdosta and Lowndes County continue to ignore the rights of the citizens and the voters, we're gonna lose this republic. And I guarantee you that. This nation will not stand as a republic and be the beck and call for freedom, justice, and equality as long as we the people sit back and let people ignore us, push us to the end of the agenda as if though our words don't mean nothing till time come for an election. This is kvci.blogspot.com. George Boston Rhyme, doing what I do because somebody got to do it, or we gonna lose this country. Bye-bye, we gone.